Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome back. Today's Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. I would like to begin with a little shout out to my baby sister, Paige Crowder, who yesterday celebrated a birthday marking 32 years on this earth, 32 years spent upstaging me in the liberal, redneck, comedy, and most other departments. I love you very much, Sissy, and happy birthday to you. I'm Trae Crowder, and that is an empty chair. That's right, as you may have already ascertained. No smart Mark tonight. No, he is defying his nickname at present by vacationing in Florida with his in laws. So, pray for him, y'all. Fret not, as long as Mark manages to not have his face eaten by an alligator or a rabid Floridian, he will be back with us next week and things will be back to normal. But in the interim, you're looking at it. That's right. I'm going to be ranting into the void on my lonesome this evening. But if you followed me for a while, you know that ranting into the void is a favored pastime of mine. So I think we'll be just fine. Also, I'm never truly alone on this show, as I have you all and the venerable producer Matt, who is with me on the ones and twos doing his thing. In light of that, as we go through the show, Matt is he's still got to do all his producer duties, but he's going to attempt to put up some more comments and stuff earlier in the show so I can respond to those and you guys can have a conversation with me of sorts as we go along. So that's the plan. So hey, let's see how it goes. This is Weekly Skews. Tonight, the primary subject of my solo ire will be the supposed labor shortage that has job creators all around this country in a real tizzy. Is it really a labor shortage, or is it just the latest in a ceaseless line of reasons for them to talk shit about poor people who actually do stuff in this country? Well, you could probably see where I'm leaning, but we'll talk about it more later. Also, at the midway point, I will be mercifully rescued from these solo rantings by my guest tonight, Justin Kanew, who is the founder of the Tennessee Holler, a wonderful progressive blog aimed at documenting the ceaseless parade of lunacy emanating from my home state of Tennessee. Me and Justin will talk about all the latest back home bullshit, as well as his big virtual festival coming up this weekend, Holler Fest, which I will be a part of. All that and more on tonight's Weekly Skews. But first, as always, I begin with the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, any conservative out there who thought that your livestock was safe from us liberals in our cancel culture crusade. In case you missed it, the Kentucky Derby winner, Medina Spirit, who is a horse, failed its post-race drug test, which led to a lot of controversy and some actual consequences from the horse world. But the horse's owner or trainer or both, the horseman, Bob Baffert, had a very pointed explanation for what really was behind those consequences. Matt, play the clip, please.
Churchill Downs came out with that statement that was pretty harsh, and I think they had to just, it's with all the noise going out, we live in a different world now. This America is different, and it was like a cancel culture kind of a thing. So they're reviewing it. I haven't been told anything. We're prepared to run. I can't see them.
But under the rules, does your team get to review the results, or is that left with the horse officials?
No, it goes. There's a long process. There'll be a split sample, and then there'll be a hearing, and it's going to take months. This isn't done within a week, and it's a long period.
But you're here to say that Bob Baffert's team did not cheat to win the Kentucky Derby.
We did not cheat to win the Kentucky Derby.
No, they didn't cheat. They just, they did what anybody would do and take illegal drugs in order to win the Kentucky Derby, which isn't cheating. It wouldn't even be a problem if we on the left weren't so obsessed with canceling everybody who, takes illegal drugs to win the Kentucky Derby or whatever it is that they are apparently saying here. This was always the sort of natural end result, the natural end point for the cancel culture debate or whatever you want to call it, is that they've now realized that they can latch on to any reason to uh, forgive themselves for any transgressions or wrongdoings. Like, oh, I'm just getting canceled. Like, yeah, sure, I shot that horse up with a whole bunch of adrenaline gasoline or have I don't know about horses, but like that, shot the horse up, the horse won, then it's like, well, you can't do that. The horse should have lost. They're like, what? So now I'm just getting canceled, huh? I'm the latest of season. Sorry, except it's a horse. And that's where we ended up at, and it was always going to be this way, and this isn't the end of it either. But I do want to say that this is so stupid. This is such a moment of dumbassery that even some on Fox News aren't having it, including Brian Kilmeade, arguably the dumbest on Fox News. Matt, play this short clip here.
Cancel culture. Bob Baffert, you are no Dr. Seuss. So where do we stand now? The results of
So it's like even this guy is saying, yeah, you know what? Pump the brakes, buddy, while also validating that Dr. Seuss got canceled, which of course also didn't happen. He's canceling cancel culture out here. It's just an endless cycle of cancellations going back and forth until who will be left? Only the truly pure. I don't know. This shit is so ridiculous, but it did lead to some funny moments, some of which we've already showed you, but also I appreciated this one also from Fox News, at which, far be it for me to give it up to them, but I like this chyron that they had when covering the story. Matt, you throw that the screen grab up there. Look at that. Bob Baffert, quote, Bob Baffert is not stupid. I love this because it's under that subgenre of, if you guys never saw that viral screenshot that said, quote from man stabbed. What are you going to do? Stab me? I love shit like this. So yes, Bob Baffert, like even amongst the cancel culture megasphere of Fox News, apparently even they think he's a dumbass. And maybe because of that, he has actually kind of admitted a little bit of fault here, but don't worry, he's still got an explanation. Matt, if you've got the screen grab, throw it up there and I'll tell you how he explains what happened. So he says all that happened was, following a previous derby, the Santa Anita Derby, Medina Spirit developed dermatitis on his hind end, so on his butt, on his horse butt, and the horseman's horse doctor told him that they needed to use this particular ointment called Otamax or Otomax, something like that, and it's antifungal ointment. And according to the horseman, the balm that he repeatedly rubbed on the horse's butt, it had in it the banned substance that led to the. So again, you can see how anybody could have done it. Any horseman could have done that. And he really shouldn't be facing these consequences of his actions. It's our fault with us and our cancel culture. So there you go. That's our lead dumbass tonight. But let's go into some honorable mentions. The first daily dumbass honorable mention. Anybody out there who thought the My Pillow guys big election fraud party wouldn't slap, or that Joe Piscopo don't still got it, baby. That's right. And I want to apologize in advance for this clip, but I had to see it, so you had to see it too. This is Joe Piscopo at the My Pillow guys election fraud party. Play it, Matt.
Brazzo. And then this. I don't mean to be racist, but how about the Japanese? Can I do this? Wall! I'm sorry if that's racist. I apologize. Touching wall. I apologize. I'm sorry. Reaching out. Okay, I'm sorry. I made a mistake and I apologize. Touching me, touching you. It's creepy, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're going to do something for the Japanese players, you're going to do something with the Latino players. What about the brothers? You got to do something for the brothers in Major League Baseball. Yeah, I mean, really, So, again, respectfully, it should sound something like this, I think. You got to just kind of go like this, yeah. Our version of Sweet Caroline, kind of go like this. Whose music is this? I ain't some Jewish guy talking Sweet Caroline. When I think of diamond, I put it in my ear. Got nothing to do about what I want to hear. I'm so proud to be part of MLB. But Caroline, dang, make it Jay-Z.
Were you guys loving that as much as the audience in attendance was? How about that? Murdering, right? He was just killing it up there. Even those people weren't down with that, I guess. Producer Matt says, as the resident South Dakotan, I can say this might be the least racist thing ever to have been done at the Corn Palace, which, first of all, I guess that's where that took place, the Corn Palace. I didn't, only because of producer Matt am I aware that the Corn Palace is an actual place. I mean, I guess it checks out, but I guess that's where all the big activities go down in that particular Dakota. I'm sorry, Matt. Was that South Dakota? I assume it was. Only because that's where producer Matt is from. But yes, there you have it. Killing in the Corn Palace. I don't even, if you don't understand what that Japanese stuff was up top, don't feel bad. I don't understand it either. I have no idea what that was supposed to be. But I do know the last part was a racist attempt at rapping a version of Sweet Caroline because, you know, that's what plays to these people. Although I don't know, like, I feel like you got to do one or the other. He was up there being hopelessly racist the whole time while also apologizing for it in between literally every line that he said. I guess that was done sarcastically. I don't know. But like I said before we played it, I had to see it, so y'all had to see it too. You know, that's how things work around here. So our next honorable mention for Daily Dumbass is whoever it was at Newsmax that booked my man David Litt, former Obama speechwriter. And here's why they were dumb for doing that. Play the clip, Matt.
David Litt, good morning. Welcome into Wake Up America. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
I did not watch Saturday Night Live. I watched the clips. The show's on too late, quite frankly. I don't think it's that funny anymore. What'd you think of Elon Musk's performance? This is the first time since 2015 we've had a non-athlete, non-entertainer on the show. The last person to do that and do well with great ratings, our former president, Donald Trump.
Well, Rob, it's a great question. I mean, what happened on SNL this weekend was that people made stuff up and then said it on television like it's true. And that actually happens pretty frequently in American TV. For example, in 2020, Dominion Voting Systems sued Newsmax over its false claims about election fraud. Newsmax was lying to its own viewers, and Newsmax had to settle that lawsuit. So actually, I just need to check in. Are you still telling that lie, or are you telling new lies?
Wait, are we talking about, I'm sorry, David, are we talking about, do you want to talk about something completely non-related and try to catch me on a Monday morning totally off topic, or do you want to talk about Elon Musk?
Well, I can see why you don't want to talk about Dominion Voting Systems, because if you do, Newsmax could get sued and lose billions of dollars because these are lied.
David, that's fine, David. I know this is a very funny moment for you. I'm sure you didn't sleep last night as you prepared to sort of try and get the morning anchor on Newsmax. I'd be happy to talk with you about whatever you want to talk about. Obviously, it's not the topic that we have set up for right now. So if you'd like to talk about Saturday Night Live, I will do that with you. But obviously, I'm not going to talk about anything else right now. So you decide right now, in this moment on live television. Go ahead.
Did Dominion Voting Systems have any impact on the 2020 election?
Oh, that's unfortunate because I was really excited about this interview. I didn't watch SNL on Saturday night, but I thought Elon Musk did an okay job. And he also said that he's got Asperger's. So I thought that was a fascinating component of the monologue. So, David, we look forward to having him back on very soon again. That was a stellar interview. David Litt, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be right back.
My man. So the way I saw that clip was it was shared by the wonderful comedian Mike Birbiglia, who said, and I agree with this, the only way to ever hold these particular people accountable is to do it live. You got to go on there and just call them out live and see how they handle it. And I feel like he didn't handle it particularly well. I did like how producer Matt said this. It's like he referred to him, the anchor referred to himself as the morning anchor on Newsmax. Just really thinking highly of himself. I feel like, listen, you thought you could come on where the morning anchor is and just do your silly stuff and be all funny and it would work, but you're not going to get me. But no, he did. It was totally effective, I feel like, and I appreciate David Litt for that. So good job, brother. I hope more people do that exact type of thing in the future. Our final honorable mention in Daily Dumbass tonight is any of you out there who think you might be able to guess what the worst / silliest thing that a candidate for district attorney in Philadelphia would have to explain might be. So, like, the silliest thing that someone running for district attorney in Philadelphia would have to explain away. What do you think that is? You thinking of it? Let's see if you got it right. Matt, put up the screen grab, please. It's the girl in my bathtub. That's right. This is on the candidate's own website. His name is Charles Peruto Jr. And on his own website, he has to dedicate an entire section to explaining, just so everyone understands, how that dead girl got into his bathtub. And you might be thinking, oh, is this like a East Coast mob lawyer? Yes, he is. He's a mob lawyer. So the mob lawyer running for district attorney in Philadelphia had to dedicate an entire section of his website to explaining to people how that girl who was dead in his bathtub ended up being dead in his bathtub. You know, again, it could happen to anybody, right? Who among us has never had a dead girl in their bathtub, besides almost all of us? But he explains it, very diplomatically, but apparently, yes. So he says, it's ridiculous that anyone should have to dedicate an entire section of their website to this. But since I know you're gonna ask about it, here is the reason that it happened. And he basically says that she was very, very, very drunk, and there you go. That's it, pretty much. She was very drunk. She had a 0.45 blood alcohol content, and thus she was dead in his bathtub. So please leave him alone about it, guys. Stop asking him. Come on, can we get on to the issues here? He's trying to run for district attorney of the city of Philadelphia. Do we have to stay on this dead girl in the bathtub thing? Come on, it's unfair. So yeah, there you go. There are your dumbasses for this evening. So let's talk about our main story tonight. The labor shortage, they say. That's what they being the job creators of this country, are calling it the big labor shortage. Here's what had happened. What had happened was, in April, there was expected to be this major spike in jobs added to the economy to the tune of like 1 million or more new jobs. That's what everybody was expecting. And then that didn't happen. The actual number was 266,000 jobs added to the economy in April. So that happened. And at the same time that those numbers came out, a slew of pictures went viral on the internet. And Matt, you can start throwing them up whenever. Yes, pictures from around the country, mostly at restaurants, chain restaurants, that have some version of the same sign. It's a sign posted on the window, and people took pictures and posted them. And the sign says some version of, "We are short-staffed," or "We are not open because we have no staff," right? And then here's a Sonic in Albuquerque, and a lot of them had the same sentiment. These signs end with, "No one wants to work anymore," right? So that's why that's why you can't get your 42-ounce Ocean Breeze sugar water or whatever the hell you're getting at Sonic for whatever reason. That's why. It's because nobody wants to work anymore. These damn poor people have gotten even lazier than they were before, somehow, against all odds. But here we are. John Orbit Bainbridge says, "Why won't anyone take this shit job for bad money?" And John is very, very much on top of it. It's a very astute observation, because so basically the very pro-business right are making the argument already through the Chamber of Commerce, their biggest lobbying organization, that what's going on here is poor/working people refuse to come back. Here's a headline: labor shortage data shows added unemployment payments are crippling employers' ability to find workers. So first of all, you look at that headline and who's the protagonist of that headline? Employers, right? Something is happening to employers. They are unable to find new workers. Why? What's going on? Well, it's these added unemployment benefits. So the story there, according to them, is people, after getting these additional unemployment benefits from the government, they've realized, I don't have to work anymore. So they're just going to kick their feet up and just live on the dole for forever, because that's the natural state of poor people, is that they don't want to work. And now they don't have to work since their government is actually taking care of them. So the Chamber of Commerce is lobbying states to stop giving people additional unemployment benefits because it makes them not want to work. And Razor Girl here with this comment says exactly what I was about to say. maybe if they offered a decent wage, people would want to work there. And that's not just a like sort of talking head hot take, even though that's what I'm doing right now. It's actually backed up by the science of economics. And what I mean by that is when there are bona fide, here's a headline from the Insider. There's a simple solution for companies struggling to hire: pay workers more. So in the field of economics, and I know this is like obvious, but I'm saying it's backed up by the actual science of the industry. When there are legitimate labor shortages, when truly you're in a scenario where there is a legitimate shortage of labor, the way that that is addressed every time is by higher wages or higher benefits. You have to incentivize people to be able to hire them, right? And that's not happening right now. Imagine that. Weird, right? So far, it's just them bitching about it as opposed to doing anything to try to address it. So actual economists are saying this isn't a real labor shortage. It's a phantom labor shortage, because if it was genuine, there would be a response in response to it that would raise wages. A headline from In These Times says, U.S. labor shortage, no, we have a crisis of low wages. So basically, there's a very obvious and tried and true tested response to a genuine labor shortage. You have to raise wages, and so far they are unwilling to do that because they're sticking to their guns and saying, no, it's not that wages are too low, it's that poor people are too lazy or too dumb or whatever. So first of all, and I know all of y'all listening to me probably feel the same way I do about this, but like a lot of this shit, you feel like it doesn't have to be said, but I guess it does have to be said. Poor people are not stupid or lazy. No, I promise you right now, having been poor for most of my life and coming from a family of poor working people, no one is just banking on this extra $300 a week for the rest of their lives. No one has gotten this extra $300 a week and just leaned back and kicked their feet up like, oh, well, hell, why ever do anything else? We've got it made now. That's not what's happening. No one is like that. Also, whenever you bring up the minimum wage, hang on, let me read this first. Phoenix Fire from YouTube says, low wages, no oversight in restaurants and retail, no benefits, being punished for being a parent. Yes, you touched on a lot of things I'm about to bring up, Phoenix. You're 100% right. First thing I want to say, though, is that anytime we start talking about raising the minimum wage, right, what do Republicans say? They always say some version of, well, you know, if you don't feel you're paid enough, then get a better job. Be upwardly mobile. Bootstraps, right? Bootstrap your ass up to a better job, and then you won't have to worry about it. Well, you know, maybe a lot of these people have done that. Maybe that's what they've done, is decided there are better ways for them to devote their lives in return for wages than to do it at fucking McDonald's or Hardee's or wherever. Maybe they've decided that there's a better way for them to go about it. But also, like Phoenix was saying, I'm somebody with young children. I can do a lot of my shit from home like I'm doing right now. But I know that, you know, the kids are mostly at home right now. People have to take care of their children still during the day. So a lot of people are having to do that. Also, that's because of the pandemic. Also because of the pandemic, people are worried about going to work in a public facing position, especially in places where people are going to come in wearing no mask, yelling at you, fucking throwing spittle onto your face while berating you for wearing a mask while they refuse to, and just put you at risk all day long. It's not worth it for $7 an hour or whatever. And a lot of people have realized this. Like, it's not worth it. That's what it comes down to for me. You want people to do this shit for you, you have to make it worth it. And right now, it's just not worth it. Make it worth it, and people will come back. But there's always this, like, it's this weird thing that people have, I think, when they think about everyone else when topics like this come up. And what I mean is, like, for example, right now it's come back up as part of this whole ongoing situation. A lot of McDonald's workers are striking again, or are going to strike again. I think on May 19th. I think that's right, for $15 an hour, right? Yeah. 15 cities, McDonald's workers are going to strike for $15 an hour. And anytime this type of thing comes up, a lot of other people, you'll hear this narrative of like, so listen, and I'm not picking on EMTs. I'm just picking a improperly paid position. But like, you hear people saying, I'm an EMT and I make $11 an hour. So you're telling me you think that some teenager flipping burgers deserves to make $4 more an hour than I do? And of course the answer is no, I don't think that. I think you're both getting fucked, man. Like, both of you deserve more. It's not a binary thing. It's not an either or thing where they deserve more than you do. It's not always about framing it as, if someone else gets more, you get less. We all should be getting more, And the other element of that same dynamic, I think, is that people, by the same token, if you ask people, if you were paid more money, let's say you were paid $300 more a month or whatever, what would you spend it on? Pretty much every single person is going to be like, oh, well, I'd finally get my brake pads changed, or I'd, change that fan belt, or I'd fix that air conditioner, or whatever. And a lot of the people in this country, unfortunately, if you ask them, okay, let's say hypothetically we gave your neighbor $300 more a month, what would they spend it on? And it's always like, oh, well, more beer and cigarettes probably. They'd just be laid up like they are because they wouldn't have to work. People don't apply the same logic to themselves as they do everybody else, and that leads to this narrative of poor people are lazy and sorry and just don't want to work, which of course is not true. And I'm worried about this shit because it seems to me like Joe Biden is maybe listening to it a little bit. Matt, if you have the Joe Biden clip, you can play it whenever you got it.
We're going to make it clear that anyone collecting unemployment who is offered a suitable job must take the job or lose their unemployment benefits. There are a few COVID-19 related exceptions, so that people aren't forced to choose between their basic safety and a paycheck.
Okay, so I'm not thrilled about that response, but that's maybe like towing political lines or whatever you have to do, because somewhat reassuring was the response that Jen Psaki, his correspondence director, had to a question related to the same subject. Let's play that, Matt, then we'll get Justin out of here.
Economy, so employment only rose by about 266,000 jobs in April out of 7.4 million or so job openings. How does the White House know that people are just choosing not to apply for jobs because the extra unemployment benefits are so good?
Well, first, let me say that we have looked at the data, and Secretary Yellen referred to this on Friday, or talked about this on Friday. We don't see much evidence that the extra unemployment insurance is a major driver in people not rejoining the workforce. We actually see the data, and our analysis shows that lack of vaccination, the lower rate, which is why I referred to the data and the week that it was taken, it has an impact. Child care has an impact. Schools reopening has an impact. But there is also the need to pay a livable working wage. And that's one of the reasons the president will talk about that this afternoon.
So, there you go. Like I said, I mean, same administration, but you're getting kind of sort of differing messages there, I feel like. But I guess I'm choosing to appreciate the second one more than the first one. I don't know what to say. At least there's some appropriate messaging coming out from the administration on it, I guess, is the bright side I'm trying to look on. So we'll circle back to this topic in the questions and comments later at the end of the show. But before we do, real quick, I want to say, I think that I told you there was a slew of viral videos that people took at various fast food restaurants or whatever, that a lot of which had the same kind of narrative. People don't want to work, but they didn't all have that narrative. And this one, I think, is a little more illustrative. Matt, if you put that screen grab, this is from a Wendy's here, says, "We all quit!" ! closed. Love Wendy's. So yeah, that's what's happening. People are realizing that like you're worth more than what these people indicate you are. You don't have to be wage slaves anymore, and people are realizing that, and they're fighting back. That's what's happening, and they're gonna have to, adapt or die. Fuck them, or figure them robots out they've been working on for so long. I guess it's gonna take everybody's jobs, but we'll see what happens. And like I said, we'll circle back to this topic towards the end. But first, I want to get out here my man who's here to rescue me from this solo ranting into the void I'm doing. My guest tonight, he's a buddy of mine. His name's Justin Kanew. He's the founder of the Tennessee Holler, which many of you all may already be aware is a wonderful blog, a progressive blog that's and content aggregator that's aimed at kind of holding to account the lunatics in the South who are doing everything they can to keep us in the past, the regressive conservatives of the South, trying to put a different voice out there and saying not all Southerners, not all Tennesseans are like that. My man Justin is at the forefront of that effort. His name's Justin Kanew, and here he is of the Tennessee Holler. Bring him out here, Matt. What's up, dog?
What's up, my man? Really good to hear you solo trip it. You've been doing great. I'm agreeing with everything you're saying.
Thanks, buddy. You think I'm doing all right?
Yeah, you're doing great. You're making a lot of sense.
So I guess let's start. Tell everybody about the Holler up top, actually. Explain to people, do a better job than I did of explaining what the Holler is and what you're about.
Yeah, man, the Holler is basically a group of people all throughout Tennessee who are, we like to say, yelling the truth about what's going on here. The backstory is I ran for Congress in 2018 for the seat that Marsha Blackburn left behind, lost to a guy named Mark Green, who's just as bad as she was. But I felt like there wasn't enough truth yelling going on. There wasn't a real progressive messaging outlet here. And so we started it. We've been up there bothering the right people up on the Hill for about 2 years now. We've grown pretty fast. We have a really engaged, awesome audience. And I like to say everybody's the Holler. So most of the information that we get comes from regular folks who just want to see the truth get told all throughout the state. And that's what we've been trying to do as best we can. So it's been going really well. We appreciate all the support you've given us. And obviously one thing I just want to plug is we have our Holler Fest, our first one on Saturday that you're going to be a part of. A lot of progressive people from all throughout the state are going to jump in and talk about the issues that we're facing here in Tennessee, where we could use all the help we can get.
Yeah, well, I mean, since we're on the subject, let's just go ahead and do it. Yeah, Saturday, Holler Fest, the first one, and this one's virtual, hoping to do more in the future, maybe not as virtual, but the upside is everybody's watching right now, wherever they're at, they can check it out, right? So let's go ahead and do the specifics of Holler Fest, let everybody know, and then we'll get into some fun stuff.
Great. So Holler Fest is going to be Saturday, 2 p.m. Central Time. Live streaming on @TN Holler on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Trae, Stella Parton, Jim Cooper, Steve Cohen, both our congressmen, some state reps, some great activists, Justin Jones, Afton Bain, Odessa Kelly is running against Rep Cooper, Tennessee Justice Center, Equality Project, all these great people. Basically CPAC, but for good is what we're trying to do. You know, CPAC, they all came together and spouted their nonsense. We're going to try to spout some truth telling.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'll be there. Y'all check it out this Saturday. All right. So, okay, Justin, we've got a story that we actually would have covered on this episode either way, but since you're here, I wanted to ask you about it because I feel like this is right in the Holler's wheelhouse. This is obviously from back home. I'm sure you've seen it already. It's Tennessee State Representative Justin Lafferty from Knoxville, who on the state Congress floor argued in favor of the 3/5 compromise, basically, or if not argue in favor for it, he tried to sort of rationalize the 3/5 compromise. And I guess, Matt, actually, let's play it's about a minute long. Let's play the clip, then me and you will talk about it.
The 3/5 compromise was a direct effort to ensure that Southern states never got the population necessary to continue the practice of slavery everywhere else in the country. What does that mean? Appropriation based on population. That's how we pick. Everybody in here knows we've got 9 state representatives. by limiting the number of population in the count. They specifically limited the number of representatives that would be available in the slave-holding states, and they did it for the purpose of ending slavery, well before Abraham Lincoln, well before a Civil War. Do we talk about that? I don't hear that anywhere in this conversation across the country. I don't know how we've gotten here. I don't know what we do about it, but talking about changing our history, changing is not the right word. Talking about incorporating another view of history while ignoring the very writings that we have access to is no way to go about it.
Okay, so for a little context first, and I want you to tell me what you think about it. This is like in response to another iteration of a bill in Tennessee that would ban critical race theory from states' public schools. And it's basically like curriculum that would, say we were wrong, that Civil War was about slavery and that slavery was bad and that we should probably not do that again, and just like factual elements of historical curriculum. A lot of southern states, and not just southern states actually, Idaho passed a very similar bill very recently, but a lot of red states have a problem with this type of curriculum, and they're trying to ban it right now. That's currently happening in Tennessee, which is what prompted this particular tirade. So, Justin, what do you think is up with this?
Well, a couple things. First of all, Lafferty is a guy who twice, I'm up there on the hill a lot, bothering them, asking them questions they don't want to answer. Twice he's gone out of his way to like try to bump into me. So this guy is a little firecracker of a dude. He's shorter than I am, and I'm pretty short. And my favorite part of the video is actually before he starts talking there, where he goes, I've been praying on this. I've been thinking a lot about this. And then he adds, but I really didn't even look it up.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to get this completely wrong and say that, the Three-Fifths Compromise was intended to end slavery. And like with most things that Republicans say along these lines, there's like a kernel of you kind of get what he's saying. Like, okay, he's trying to say that the Three-Fifths Compromise kept lower representation in the slave states, so may have helped in the end. But that was not the point of the Three-Fifths Compromise. And to lift up the Three-Fifths Compromise as like, we should celebrate this more, is completely outrageous. It whitewashes history, and it is the perfect representation of why the bill that he is lobbying for is so devastating, because we need people like him to understand what really happened. And what this bill does is it makes it so the teachers are going to have to think twice about telling the truth about our history. And that is a really damaging, devastating thing. It is certainly not small government, which is what these guys try to claim to be all the time.
Yeah, it's like another version of this. I haven't grown up in Tennessee, the South, my whole life. I know there's this narrative also of like, and I know this is disgusting, but I'm just telling y'all, this sort of argument of like, when it comes to slavery, finding any way you can to sort of reconcile or justify it. And like another version of it is, well, a lot of slaves were treated well, or like, really, they were better off, than they were in Africa. They were sold by other Africans that came here, and they're better off for it. And a lot of them loved their plantation owners and that type of shit. And it's just doing anything they can to kind of, I don't know, ease the shame of slavery, which is not the shame, or we aren't feel the shame. We should have all the shame.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like, do you think that all this really just comes from, well, where do you think all this really comes from? Just trying to find.
I think you can't,
go ahead.
You can't separate it from everything else that's going on in this state, which is, that man is giving that speech probably 30 yards from a bust of Nathan Bedford Forrest, the first Grand Wizard of the KKK, which they refused to move. They just, in that legislature later that day, passed a bill to legalize essentially running over protesters that are protesting. They criminalize voter registration. So, they make fried chicken jokes. Like, there is a long list of racist garbage going on while they stand up and essentially try to wipe their hands of everything. They are carrying on the tradition. So, it's just, you can't separate it from everything else that's going on in this state. These guys are walking, living, breathing examples of why we need to teach the truth about what's going on. And I have two kids who are going to go through public schools. I don't want their teachers to be afraid to tell the truth. And that is the culture that's being created here by these extremists that are in control of this state. And people should really understand Tennessee is in extremist hands. This last session was really extreme. It was attacking the most vulnerable. It was passing ugly legislation. It was failing to help people at every turn. And we really need people to wake up and understand not only what they're doing, but what they're failing to do every single day here in Tennessee. This is an extremist group, and it's a real scary situation here.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to get into that with you because, like, at the time, so like I said, I lived in Tennessee my whole life until I moved to California in 2017. And right around that time, or in the few years preceding it, I actually was, and again, please keep in mind, people, relatively speaking, comparatively speaking, I was feeling pretty good about Tennessee actually, because we had done the community college bill, making, free community college for everybody in Tennessee and things like. There had been some actually. Yeah, with Haslam. Yeah, there have been some actually okay things happening, again, comparatively speaking. And just in the past 4 or 5 years or whatever, the downward spiral that has gone on with like the Marsha Blackburns of the world and Bill Lee and everybody, it is so disheartening, man, especially when compared to, and I know especially when compared to like Georgia turning blue and everything. And I know everybody else saw after that happened, you see what else has gone on in Georgia with the voter restriction laws and all that. Those people are still there, still doing their bullshit. But still, that was prompted by this move in a progressive direction for Georgia, right? And especially when you look at that as compared to what's gone on in Tennessee in recent years, it's just so discouraging and disheartening, like I said. And I'm just wondering, you're on the front lines of it. What is going on with all that, and how are you feeling about the sort of trajectory of it,
I mean, it's certainly a steep climb. The demographics are different in Tennessee compared to Georgia. We just, are not as racially diverse. It's the highest percentage of evangelicals in the entire country. So that really sets it apart. Also, I think the backslide really happened probably right around when Obama got elected. And then, it slowly started to drift further and further right, and nobody's put the brakes on. And the sad part is it's not going to stop until actual other Republicans, if they're still out there, stand up and say something. And we haven't had our Liz Cheney moment here. We haven't had any of them fall out of line. They do a really good job of keeping everybody in line. And, it's hard to, you asked about the trajectory, it's hard to see the progress in the near future. I'm sort of hopeful that as we get more younger voters voting, and as we have more transplants, which are coming in here all the time from, all over the state or all over the country, there may be hope. I know there's a lot of people doing a lot of great work here, and that's part of why we wanted to do the Holler Fest on Saturday, to sort of showcase some of that work. But it's definitely a steep climb, Trae. There's no question about it. I don't want to give anybody false hope here. But, the only way people are going to start to change their minds is if they understand the truth about what's happening. And that's really why we started the Holler. They don't tell the full story. They don't talk about how we're number one in medical bankruptcies, at the bottom in poverty, F in education funding, at the bottom in infant and maternal mortality. I could go on and on and on. They just get up there and say, hey, we're fiscally stable, and, pat ourselves on the back. They don't really care about people, and that's the shame of it all.
Yeah. What do you think? I'm going to ask you a version of a question that I've been asked countless times over the years. How would you advise that people actually running for office on the left go about talking to these people? Because what I've always been saying, but here's the thing.
I was hoping you were going to tell me that, Trae.
No, I know, right? I know. That's always my answer too. It's because what I've been saying, but I don't know that it actually I don't know what works, but I'm always like, look, you don't have to lead with abortion and gun control.
No, that's
you
true.
can lead with like I'm from Clay County. Our hospital has closed down 2 times in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
It's closed right now. Lead with that and talk about
marijuana.
And we haven't had a factory in 20 years, lead with that, jobs and healthcare and that type of thing. And I would like to believe that's true, but I mean, what do you think? Will that be effective, and if not, what do you do?
No, that's absolutely right. There are things that we believe that you don't have to talk about everywhere you go. And when I ran for Congress in a very red district, that was the first thing that came up every time was the abortion issue and why they hand my card
Right.
back to me and say they won't vote for a Democrat. I
Right.
think there's a lot of work that needs to be done to figure out how we talk about that issue, but certainly it's not what you should lead with. I see John Bainbridge saying marijuana. I agree with him. I think marijuana is a big issue that
Mhm.
doesn't get talked about really enough. I think people are starting to get that. But I think the framing needs to be, here are the things that would happen if the Democrats were in charge. Here would what you would have. You would have Medicaid expansion. You would
Right.
have medical marijuana. You would have more hospitals. You would have higher wages. I mean, 7.25 an hour in this state, and the state government won't let cities raise it higher even if they want to. Not small government again. It's government overreach. So there needs to be some hard work done to figure out the messaging here about how to change it, how to keep it simple, and then that just needs to be hit over and over and over again. Problem is, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because as long as people think, oh, Tennessee's a lost cause, there won't be resources pumped in here, and it will be
Right.
one. So people have to
Right.
start to believe that change can happen. Then resources start to come to groups like the Equity Alliance, groups like Tennessee Equality Project that are doing the work here, Indivisible. And then more and more, you'll start to see a little bit of a change because those resources, what they're used for is telling the truth and telling people what's actually going on here. But until the resources come in to do that, they're going to get all their news from Fox News, each other, the radio. And, you go out to talk to them and you get one conversation. You're not cutting through all that. It has to be a sustained drumbeat of, truth bombs.
Yeah. Absolutely. I completely agree. So I got a question for you from our producer Matt. His question is, what is the role of a blue blog in a red state? Can you talk a little bit about how you're providing an alternative voice? And do you have any advice for other similar red state voices of dissent?
That's a great question. The thing that we try to really focus on at the Holler is video, because I think it's easy to dismiss something that you write down. You say, this is my opinion, and they dismiss it and say that's fake news. But we have basically our own C-SPAN here in Tennessee. Every single committee meeting, every single floor session is on video live stream. So what we do is we go into those 4.5-hour videos and we pull out the 1 minute that you need to see. And we say, hey, here's Micah Van Huss saying that he can't find the evil in a raped 15-year-old girl being forced to carry her coach's baby to term. Here's a conversation that happened. And so our role, I believe, is just showing the video, making it shareable, making it land. And, my advice to red state bloggers that you're asking is really focus on video, get up there and ask them the tough questions on the Hill where they feel most comfortable. And in my experience, if you ask the right question, their answer doesn't matter, because either they're going to run away from you, they're going to disagree with you, they're going to yell at you, they're going to ignore you. But if you ask the right questions, their answers don't matter. So that's what we've really been trying to do. In this session, I spent a lot of time up on the Hill. I cornered some guys in an elevator a few times, so they made it so that now I can't get in that elevator with them. But you got to make them uncomfortable. You got to, bird dog them, show up at town hall, show up at county commission meetings, because those places are where those real conversations happen. And they put their foot in their mouth a lot. You just got to let them sort of tell on themselves.
Yeah. All right. Before you get out of here, Justin, also, I would just appreciate it if you spent a little chunk of time talking about Marsha Blackburn specifically and how, because people that followed me for a while know that I'm a huge anti-fan of Marsha Blackburn.
I mean,
but could you just talk about her for a minute, please?
She's my reason for living.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would not be doing what I'm doing without her. I ran for the seat that she was in. I ran to challenge her because nobody was. I felt like somebody had to do it. She had been running unopposed. By the end of it, she had run for Senate, and she's now our senator. I like to say I scared her off. I mean, she's just terrible, man. There's a documentary on HBO Max right now about the opioid crisis that talks about her and how she enabled the opioid crisis. Yep. She has blood on her hands there. She takes hundreds of thousands of dollars from the NRA, takes hundreds of thousands of dollars from big telecom, gets very few donations, small dollar donations from real people. She's bought and paid for every step of the way. She's infuriating to listen to because she knows how to talk and end the interview 5 minutes later. And you're like, wait, I feel like I didn't even ask a question. You can just see The interviewer's eyes glaze over. Anyway, she's just the absolute worst of the worst. And, it's a shame that she and Bill Hagerty are our senators. So, but again, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without her. So in a way, I have to thank her. Before I leave, Trae, I just want to say you really said a lot of nice things that I agree with about the labor shortage myth. One thing that I do want to point out that doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion, is the healthcare angle. If we had expanded Medicaid here in Tennessee, you could earn more money and not lose your insurance. Right now, it's a math problem. If you earn too much, you lose your health coverage. So because we don't expand Medicaid, if you take one of those $12 an hour jobs, you could lose your health coverage. It doesn't make any sense. Expanding Medicaid, subsidizing daycare, these are all things that make that math equation make more sense. Instead, all they want to do is cut their unemployment benefits. And then, of course, the biggest thing of all is Medicare for all. If we had Medicare for all or universal health coverage, these employers wouldn't have to worry about covering their employees. They could pay them more directly. Employees wouldn't have to worry about leaving their job and losing their coverage. It's just a death spiral. So Republican solution is to cut unemployment benefits. But I think, like you believe and like I believe, the real solution is pay people more, subsidize daycare for low-income families, and take care of people's health care. And then we'll have a much better equation. Cutting unemployment benefits is not the equation, especially since the bill they just passed doesn't cut benefits until 2 years from now, far after the federal subsidy has lapsed. So they're attacking really vulnerable people in a time where they're really going to need that money.
Yeah. Amen, brother. You said it. All right. So one more time, tell everybody how to find the Holler and follow it, and tell them about Holler Fest one more time and how to check that out.
TNHoller.com, at the TN Holler on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Holler Fest is Saturday, May 15th, this Saturday at 2 p.m. Central Time. Come check out Trae, Stella Parton, Rep Jim Cooper, Rep Steve Cohen, a lot of great people. And follow the Holler, as we like to say. We really appreciate what you're doing here with the Skews. Keep up the great work. And thank you, everybody, for having us.
Hell yeah, my man. Thank you, Justin. Always a pleasure talking to you, and I'll talk to you soon, brother. Justin Kanew, everybody from the Tennessee Holler. So yeah, like you said, Holler Fest this Saturday. I'll be on there with a bunch of I'm sorry, I know y'all don't know what this is about. There's a goddamn fly in here that keeps showing up. So that's what I'm not just like, it's not Ghost I'm waving at. But anyway, I love Justin and I love the Holler and I think they're great. And yeah, if y'all don't already follow him, you should, because he's really, really on top of all their bullshit in the South at large, but in particularly in Tennessee. He really calls them to task, which I like. Rachel DeGroot asks, is it live? Yeah, I believe it is. There might be like a slight tape delay or something like that, maybe, but I'm pretty sure it's live. I mean, it's mostly live. So yeah. Which is not to say though that you can't watch it if you can't be there Saturday. Like you'll be able to watch it after the fact. I hope, maybe, I don't know. I'm answering for Justin now. He's not here, but Justin just gave the thumbs up. Yes, it's live. Okay, so let's see. So yeah, like I said, circling back to that the whole labor shortage thing and how they're just constantly coming after poor people / working people. What do y'all think about that? That hasn't already been said, or just reiterate shit if you want to. Christy Faust says, tell Smart Mark we missed him tonight. Okay, Christy. I mean, look, I missed him too. Of course I missed him, but hell, I'll tell him. Look, I know, we missed him. I'll tell him Christy in particular missed him tonight, but no, he'll be back. I very much missed him. Smart Mark, he's like the play-by-play, and I'm like the color commentary, sort of. Like, he's the one that knows shit. He's Smart Mark. He knows stuff, I just, didn't say what I think. Oh, Rich M coming from the other side saying Trae is doing a great job flying solo. I know you weren't saying the opposite, Christy, but I appreciate that, Rich. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, yeah, weird that I managed to just rant and rave on my own for a while, I somehow found my way. Who would have thunk it? But yeah, I really appreciate y'all sticking with me through this and everything. You guys have been great for being here, and I'm not signing off yet. I'm just letting you know that I appreciate you, and y'all are awesome. But yeah, okay, Alan Bell says, here in New Zealand, we have universal child care and health care, and we're not socialist or communist, and our country hasn't fallen apart. The situation in the U.S. is just tragic. Yes, Alan, I agree. There's plenty of other. I mean, New Zealand is like a beacon over the past couple of years because especially I know how well y'all handled COVID and how that went, and I feel like I know I've been up here in the U.S. looking at New Zealand like, God damn, why can't we do more of that? But there's more like y'all, like a lot of the Nordic countries and stuff that just seem to have things figured out a little better that are like pejoratives to a lot of people in this country. Like, you'll end up like them. It's like, oh, the horror. Larissa Berg says, my husband gives his compliments on your haircut, Trae. Oh, well, you're going to give me the vapors, Larissa's husband. I appreciate that. T. Coleman says, it was nice seeing you on the Young Turks as well. Yeah, thank you, T. I appreciate that. Yes, I had a good time on the Young Turks. They were emailing me earlier today. Hopefully we'll be back on there soon because a lot of y'all were watching were very positive about my appearance, and I really appreciate that too. So yeah, I love the Young Turks. I love what they're about, and hopefully I'll show up back on there before too long. John Hampton says, I could listen to you rant for hours. Yeah, I'm still doing the fly shit. This fly will not leave me alone, y'all. Yeah, you think that, John, till I get into like why dinosaurs shouldn't have feathers or, you know, the latest Star Wars project or whatever shit like that, or especially the Tennessee Volunteers football team. Like, there's plenty of, I could rant for hours about a lot of shit, many of which those topics you wouldn't be particularly into, I'd imagine. Just ask my wife, buddy. Am I right? Okay. But yeah, I don't know how y'all are doing as far as all that goes. I hope you had a good Mother's Day, everybody, this 2 days ago. That was a lesson I had to learn, and I'm not. Look, I was wrong. You know. But what I'm saying is, when my sons, I have two sons, 8 and 9 years old, when they were younger, like when they began to exist, the first couple Mother's Days, I didn't really do anything for my wife because like she would bring up, she'd be like, you didn't give me anything for Mother's Day, and I was like, well, yeah, you ain't my mama. You're my wife. You ain't my mama. Why would I do that? But I understand it now. I've learned the error of my ways. And this Sunday, me and my oldest baked her a shitload of cookies. We got her some flowers and a board game she wanted and all that stuff. And I hope y'all celebrated motherdom appropriately out there. And I hope all the mamas watching had a good Mother's Day. You deserve it. Amanda Russell Brake says, did you watch SNL? No, I didn't. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I grew up loving SNL, and it's not like it had nothing to do with Musk being on there or nothing. I've sort of gotten into this place where it started with touring all the time and doing my own show on Saturday night and whatnot. I just have to watch it through clips and everything after the fact, and I haven't really checked it out. I do know that he apparently didn't send Dogecoin into the stratosphere like people thought he would or whatever. Now, I don't know shit about what Dogecoin is, and I guess he also mentioned having Asperger's. That's pretty much all I know about it. I don't know. I'll tell y'all the truth. I used to be pretty into Elon Musk, honestly. Like years ago, I thought he was like, I don't even want to say it because I don't even, but like I thought he was like on some Tony Stark shit years ago. But like I've long since realized he's just another fucking plutocrat. You know, he treats his employees like shit. And anyway, I'm not a huge fan. He's a bit of an asshole. Yes, as Aaron Streeter just commented, Elon is overhyped. I agree completely. I mean, obviously he's a smart and very competent dude, but yeah, I'm not a big Elon fan anymore. He's just another one of the, you know, the haves fucking over the have-nots at the end of the day. He showed his true colors during the pandemic, in my opinion. Fucking losing his mind over not being able to continue cracking the whip over his employees and all that type of shit. So, yeah, no. Fuck him. And I guess on that note, I will close out this special solo edition of Weekly Skews. And once again, I very much appreciate y'all for sticking through it with me, and Justin for bailing me out in the middle there. And y'all are great, and I love you like chicken, and I'll be back next week, and Smart Mark will be back with me. So we'll see y'all then.